Good day, everyone. My name is Adibo Kenechiko Franklin, and I am here to present my project known as the Ghost Login. Now, what is the Ghost Login tool? The Ghost Login tool is simply a bash automated scripting tool used in performing SSH logins and brute force logins. In the surface, it is mainly a brute force. Is mainly a brute forcing tool used to test multiple passwords within an SSH login to guess the correct one and log in to the into an external user via SSH. Okay, so without further ado, I'll go ahead and begin demonstrating how it works. Okay, so firstly, we want to start with this section. There's not really much to talk about here. It just consists of the global configurations, what must be known as what, the particular logdir file in which we're looking for, the docsdir document, the logdir, and the docsdir. In this scenario, the documents here and here are being created for the purpose of our SSH brute force or SSH login, whichever one. Okay, so we'll start with the first function of the SSH ghost login tool. So what is it simply going to do? This function will just simply prompt you to input your IP address or your IP range, depending on which one you can choose. You can choose to either put an IP range or you can choose to put an IP address, a single IP address. That is all. Okay, this is just the rest of these are just various codes to trim it. Let's say you mistakenly added unnecessary space before or after the IP address range or the IP address itself. This code is responsible for ensuring that no unnecessary space is left there. This is now the Rex pattern validation section. This is responsible for ensuring that all octets within the IP address are valid in respect to the number range, respect to the IP address range. Okay, so we will now move over to the second function. The second function is here to scan the IP address. So in this scenario, it will take the input from the first section and then move it over to to the second section in which it would begin to use an mmap scan to scan the IP address range or the IP address or the SSH port to see whether it's open or not. Okay, so provided that the SSH port is open for the individual IPs within the IP range or just the plain IP in which you had imputed, it will then begin its SSH brute force attack with this section. It will first start with prompting you to impute the username of the specified IP address or the IP range. It will then follow up by asking you to select the word list you would like to use. You can either choose the default word list, which is rocky.txt, by just pressing enter and then to choose rocky.txt, or you can decide to input your own word list to then continue. It will then ask you to decide between which brute forcing tool you would want to use. We have the SSA, we have the Medusa brute forcing tool and the Hydra brute forcing tool. You can choose to use whichever one you would want to use. It will give you the same result, but it's all based on preference. After that, provided that you have given it the valid password list and then you've gotten the right password for a specific IP address, it will then prompt it that it has been successfully discovered. Now understand this. For a single IP address, it is straightforward. It will specify that this IP address's password has been discovered. But let's say now you decide to input a range. Let's say instead of putting a single IP address, you decide to put in an IP address range. Like decide to put in let's say the range of 192.168.0.1. From number 2, in which I've explained, the second section would already scan all the ranges to determine which ports are open. And then, provided that you have already imputed the username, it will test all the usernames for each and every single one of those ranges. and which username and whichever username that goes well with that IP address, it will begin to use the selected word list and the brute forcing tool to begin to brute force the SSH in it, and then it will give you your answer. If there are any brute force attempts that were successful, it would let you know. If not, it would still let you know. We now move over to the post exploitation phase. What happens after there's an exploit? What happens after there's a successful brute force? Um, it just begins to summarize proof of capturing. It validates specific settings, and then it now gives you the brute force report containing the IP that was cracked, the list used, as well as the tool used in brute forcing and the password gained, as well as the username gained. All of them are saved into a file in which you can access when it is done running. Now we move over to the fourth section. Okay, so for this section, this is simply an SSH connection module. This is used in checking to see whether various SSH ports are open within a specific IP address, provided that the password and the user are given. You can decide to check whether the SSH port is open through its login. Okay, so this is now the fifth module. This is the report generation engine. This is the function in which it summarizes basically all that has been done so far from the beginning of the first section to the ending of the fourth section. It gives you a simple report on what has been scanned, the total SSH ports opened, the successful login attempts, and the proof of concepts. That is all for the functional section. Now we get over to the menu section. This is basically what the user is greeted with when you run the system, where he would be able to see the options in which he has to input his IP address or his IP range, and then follow the instructions to get what it is he wants to get out of the Ghost login tool. Whether he wants to perform an SSH brute force, whether he wants to validate whether his SSH is still open, whether he would want to view consolidated scan reports, or whether he just wants to check what IP ranges are available, what IP ranges have port SSH open. Okay, with all that said and done, I'll now move over to the demonstration of my code. As you can see, my code is up and running, and it is giving me a prompt to choose an option between option 1 and option 6. We'll start with option 1 because that is basically the necessary option. It is now asking us to input target IP or subnet range. So that's what we'll do. We're going to choose a virtual machine in which I already recently installed for safety reasons, safety and legal reasons. Okay, as you can see, my IP has been imputed and validated. I will now move into the next option, which is to scan for an SSH port. Check whether it's open, and as you can see, it is open. That's giving me a prompt saying that two live hosts are up with SSH. That is simply still my hosts with SSH, and it's on. We now want to press enter, and we will then move over to number 3, which immediately gets straight to the SSH brute forcing and exploits. So that's what we'll do. We'll click on enter. We'll type in the username of the vulnerable machine. That's MSF add me. Okay, so it is now prompting us to enter the path to a word list. You can also just press enter to use the default word list, which is Rocky. But for the sake of time, I'm going to use a custom word list specifically made for the purpose of this session. That is my custom word list. Pass k.lst. Okay, so before the brute forcing would start, it would prompt me to select my type of brute force. For the sake of efficiency, I would use Medusa. Okay. Okay, as you can see, it is scanning. It is saying that the crack has been successful. Then it's executing non-interactive automated commands via SSH. The document has now been saved over to this path. So just very quickly, we're just going to look at this. We're going to simply look at what it shows us. Okay, as you can see, this is a full report on what has been found from the brute force attempt. We then want to move back to our menu. Okay, so after that, I would want to move over to number 4, which is the traditional SSH connect manual vector. This is simply just used to check whether a user's system on another device which is already online is using SSH and it's online and it's open. Sorry. So we're just going to test the vulnerable machine to check whether it's the SSH is still open. Okay, as you can see, the SSH has the SSH port was in fact open and the connection had been made successfully. All the info regarding the connection has been saved over to this text file. So I'm just going to look into this text file. I'm going to see the contents inside. As you can see, that's giving us useful information here. We see the IP address in which you connected to, the user logged in, the OS type running within the machine, as well as the amount of users inside, the amount of users present, the load average, and the time up, the amount of time in hours up. Okay, so we want to move back to our menu. I want to click on number 5, and then we're simply going to look into this. It gives us a number 5 will simply give us a scan report of all the scans in which we have done, whether it was brute force or just normal scans. Okay, so total IP scan. There has been no other IP scan except for the vulnerable Linux machine. So that's why it's counted as one. We have the total SSH open. We have the total SSH ports open, which is 2. This regards to the time in which we had imputed our IP addresses twice. The first time when it was prompted for us to input it in option 1, and the second time when it was prompted for us to input it in option 4. We now have successful logins as 4 because it was referring to the amount of time during which we had successfully scanned and logged into our SSH, to our vulnerable Linux machine using the SSH. It's supposed to be 3, but it was 4 because prior to this video, I had already done a recent scan. So that's what makes it 4. Yeah. We'll just simply demonstrate that again, and I'll show you. It will turn to 5 now. We just simply input MSF admin. Simply input it again. MSF admin. Oh. Okay, so we're going to demonstrate it again. I'm simply going to input the IP address again. Okay, as you can see, it has been scanned, and as you can see, SSH port 22 is open. It is connecting. It was connected. The SSH session was completed successfully, and it has given us again another prompt on the data collected after the login. So what we're going to do, we're going to go back. We're going to go back. Sorry, we're going to click on number 5 so that we may view our login attempts. And as you can see, just like what I said, it is now on 5 login attempts that are successful. Okay, the proof of concept, a valid session established on 192.168.253.131 as MSF admin. This is correct. And with that, I say thank you for your time and I hope you found this insightful.